There's a rhythm to New Orleans that never stops. It beats in the brass bands that echo through the French Quarter, in the slow sway of the Mississippi River, and in the footsteps of history itself. But beneath all the music and color, is a story older than the Cetia story, whispered through time, wrapped in misunderstanding, mystery, and incredible strength. This isn't a tale of magic or curses, but of survival. This is the real story of voodoo, and how it became one of America's most misunderstood traditions. To understand voodoo, we have to leave the streets of Louisiana and cross an entire ocean. Its roots stretch all the way back to West Africa, where communities along the coast of modern-day Benin, Togo, and Nigeria practice the spiritual system known as Voodoo, which means spirit or divine power. It wasn't just a single religion, it was a complete way of life, a way that honored nature, ancestors, and the delicate balance between the physical and the spiritual worlds. Every drumbeat, every dance, every offering carried deep meaning. When millions of Africans were enslaved and forcibly brought to the Americas, they carried their beliefs with them hidden deep in their hearts, disguised in their songs. In the Caribbean, Voodoo encountered Catholicism and the beliefs of indigenous peoples, blending into powerful new forms like Haitian Voodoo, Cuban, Santeria, and Brazilian Candomblé. When enslaved Africans arrived in Louisiana, they brought this rich fusion of cultures with them. In the 1700s and 1800s, New Orleans became a vibrant, chaotic crossroads. French, Spanish, African, and native influences all collided, creating something completely unique. The result was what locals eventually came to call voodoo. But what actually is New Orleans voodoo? At its core, it's a spiritual practice focused on healing, protection, and a deep respect for the unseen. It honors ancestors and seeks harmony between people and the world around them. Think about it. In a time when enslaved people were stripped of their identities, their families, and their basic human rights, voodoo offered something they could still own: their faith, their songs, their rituals. It was strength disguised as superstition. In the early 1800s, one woman came to embody that strength: Marie Laveau, the legendary Voodoo Queen of New Orleans. Born a free woman of color in 1801, she was a hairdresser by trade, a counselor by reputation, and a legend by legacy. Her home became a sanctuary where people from every race and social class came for advice, sailors seeking safe passage, mothers praying for their children's health, and even politicians desperate for a little luck. She masterfully blended Catholic saints with African spirits, prayer with rhythm, and deep faith with profound empathy. To some, she was mystical and powerful. To others, she was simply wise. Even the newspapers of her time couldn't decide if she was a sorceress or a saint. Lavau's influence transformed voodoo into a powerful community force. She organized gatherings at Congo Square, a place where enslaved and free black citizens could dance, drum, and sing on Sundays. To the city authorities, these gatherings were terrifying, but for the people there, they were acts of freedom, precious moments when the oppressed could remember who they were and where they came from. The incredible energy, the drumming, the chanting, these weren't dark spells. They were celebrations of life, connection, and history itself, carried on the music. As the decades passed, however, outsiders began to twist the image of voodoo. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, sensationalist newspapers and traveling shows started painting it as dark, primitive, and dangerous. Hollywood then took that stereotype and ran with it, turning sacred symbols into cheap horror props to infamous dolls, curses, and dark altars that bore absolutely no resemblance to the truth. The real voodoo, the one grounded in healing and community faith, vanished behind a curtain of fear and prejudice. What survived in the popular imagination was a caricature, a convened tool to demonize what people did, unbothered to understand. But New Orleans never forgot. In the quiet corners of the city, families continued to honor their ancestors with candles, songs, and prayers. Shrines remained hidden in plain sight behind shop counters, under front porches, woven into the very rhythm of jazz music. Because at its heart, voodoo is not about control. It's about connection. Connection between the living and the dead, the body and the spirit, the human and the divine. It's about surviving through faith when everything else has been taken away. Modern scholars and practitioners describe voodoo not as witchcraft, but as a syncretic religion, one that beautifully reflects resilience. It merged Catholic saints with African spirits, African drums with Creole hymns, ancient wisdom with New World hope. It taught a philosophy of balance that every person carries both shadow and light, and true harmony lies in respecting both. Its altars, often colorful and adorned with flowers, candles, and photographs, are symbols of memory and gratitude, not fear. Today, when you walk through New Orleans, you can feel that duality everywhere. The silent, white-tombed cemeteries stand beside vibrant murals and lively jazz halls. Life and death, celebration and mourning, the sacred and the profanate all coexists. Sure, on Bourbon Street, you'll see shops selling touristy trinkets with skulls and charms. But the real voodoo isn't in the souvenirs. It's in the city's pulse. It's in the way strangers dance together during Mardi Gras, in the music that has the power to turn grief into joy. That's the true spirit Marie Laveau embodied, the idea that the soul endures and community heals. Anthropologists point out that voodoo survived precisely asterisk because asterisk it adapted. Under oppression, it disguised itself. Under scrutiny, it softened its language. Its practitioners learned to speak in symbols. A saint's statue could represent an African deity. A rosary could conceal an ancient chant. In doing so, they preserved one of the oldest living spiritual traditions on earth. That quiet brilliance is part of the secret. Resilience disguised as ritual. Today, historians, spiritual leaders, and cultural educators in New Orleans are working hard to restore voodoo's true image. They teach that it is not evil, but deeply humana. Religion of ancestors, music, and healing herbs. They host ceremonies that honor the city's multicultural roots, emphasizing compassion and understanding above all else. They are reminding the world that faith can be both mysterious and profoundly kind. In the end, voodoo's greatest secret isn't magic, it survived slavery, colonization, and centuries of misunderstanding. It lived through silence and spectacle, through myth and media. Like the incredible city that birthed it, it kept its soul alive through rhythm and resilience. So the next time you hear the drums of New Orleans, ask yourself, are they calling spirits, or are they simply reminding us that we are still alive? Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world. See you next time.